Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And okay, he's going to deliver the topic on highway power generation and utilization in a smart city. Before going to the presentation, I just want to introduce our session speaker, Dr. Ajay Kumar sir. Actually, he's acquired his BTech degree in electrical and electronics engineering from Kurukshetra University, Haryana, and in 2012 he received his MTech degree in power system and PhD degree in power electronics and renewable energy from MNIT Jaipur in 2020. Since August 2021, he has been working as an assistant professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering at BIT Mesra, Ranchi, Jharkhand. And the period to joining BITS Mesra, BIT Mesra, he worked as assistant professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering at NIT Hamirpur for 6 months. His research interests are in the area of distributed generation, integration of renewable energy sources, power quality assessment and improvement, and the related fields. More specifically, his research spans theory and control structure of an electronically interfaced multi-functional photovoltaic system with applications to science and technology. One line of his recent work emphasized the theme of renewable energy integration, and in general, he spends his time developing new controllers for acquiring the different operation of grid integrated PV system, and is member of IEEE and life member of IST. Once again, I welcome sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish, and thanks to the entire department, electrical department of Government Polytechnic College, Dama. Today, I will discuss about the highway power generation and the scope of this power, of the generated power in the smart city, or we can say that how this power can be utilized in the form of smart city, you can say, right? Am I audible?
Sir, your voice is coming low. It is clear, but low voice it is. I suggested keep mic closer to you.
Okay. I think now my voice is better.
Yes, sir. Now it is very much audible.
Okay. So first I will share my presentation. Okay, so my screen is visible to you, all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so today I will discuss about the highway power generation, and there are various scope of power generation through the highway, and how the generated power can be utilized in smart city. So this is our today's topic, you can say. Actually, from the motivation point of view, one can say like that, okay, from many decades now, the rate of the consumption and the demand of the electrical energy basically does not match with each other. And moreover, the focus of the power engineers, or you can say that those who are working in the field of this energy generation, so they are now focusing towards the renewable sources, because the fossil fuels, or you can say that the oil and the coal, they are depleting at a very fast rate, right? So this is the first concern, and the second concern is the, you can say that the environmental concern. So because of the environmental issues, uh, government and every other industry, they all start looking towards the energy generation, power generation from the renewable sources. So this is the first concern, that okay, we need to generate the power from the renewable sources. uh, there are certain, you can say that the missions that was introduced by the government at time to time, you can say that. But one important mission that I want to highlight about that mission, in 2010, Indian government started this national solar mission, and under this mission, a total of 175 gigawatt of power is basically, you can say that, plant through the renewable sources. And out of that 175 gigawatt, 100 gigawatt was allocated to the solar photovoltaic system only. Because see, in Indian territory, or you can say that in Indian conditions, rising days are, or you can say that the bright sunny days are more in the northern part of the country. So approximately the Indian territory will receive around 5,000 trillion kilowatt hour of energy annually. And if you are suppose assuming only 3% of the wasteland, only 3%, I'm telling. So if you are assuming only 3% of the wasteland, then approximate potential of the solar photovoltaic energy is 750 gigawatt. That's why the focus towards this solar photovoltaic energy is more. But you can say that, okay, problem is related to the space only, right? Because the plant that is related to the solar photovoltaic system, that will require that will require a lot of space. So space is a big concern. So to accommodate that space, highways are basically a better place, because if you can utilize the space that is near to the highway, or one can utilize the space above the highway, so that energy can be easily generated by using the solar photovoltaic system, and the space problem is also resolved. So this is the theme of this entire talk. You can say that how the energy can be generated. There are several other ways that can also be implemented to generate the energy by using the highway, right? So by seeing all the aspects and by seeing all these methods that are available to generate the energy from the highways, one can say that the solar photovoltaic system energy generation through the highway or the area that is near to the highway is better one, because you can generate the energy in the form, in abundant amount, you can say that, right? Suppose if you want to exploit the energy that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system, so you need power electronic interface, because power electronic interface are essential conditions in order to interface the energy that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system, because the energy that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system is in the form of DC, and you have to integrate this energy, or you can say that this power, to the AC grid. Then you need, definitely you need one power electronic interface in between the solar photovoltaic system and the grid. And moreover, you can also say that, like, most of the devices that are utilized in the industries and in the home appliances, you can say that they all are related to the AC system only. So that's why I'm telling that, okay, this energy must be converted to the AC by using this power electronic interface. The second important aspect is the controlling part, because if any power electronic system is there, so without controlling part, the power electronic devices, the power electronic switches are basically dumb switches. You cannot control the flow of energy. You cannot control anything related to that solar photovoltaic system unless and until you will provide an intelligent controller. So that's why I'm telling that these power electronic devices require a control algorithm, require a controller, and that controller is basically designed according to the requirement, that what are your requirements. And you can also make that controller intelligent by using the IoT things, right? And IoT is basically coming into the picture because of this internet facility, and because of this digital controller, because you want to control the power electronic interface or power electronic devices. For that case, you need a digital controller, and the digital controller can be utilized to connect with the IoT, right? By using the IoT, you can store the data, you can send the data, you can send the signal to the digital controller, and accordingly, your digital controller will take care of the power electronic devices, and that can fulfill the requirement that according to those requirements that you have developed the control algorithm, right? So this way, the entire theme is basically towards this controller, towards this IoT, because IoT is essential to control this controller, and this controller is basically required to generate the pulses, and these pulses are basically required to control the power electronic devices. And once you control the power electronic devices, you can say that you can easily transfer the energy from solar photovoltaic to the grid. If you want to say your system is grid connected, so you can transfer the energy to the grid. If your system is standalone, so you can transfer the energy to the load that are connected to these renewable sources. So our first point is that, okay, how we can generate the power from this highways, right? So I already told you that space and cost are basically the two biggest challenges with implementing the sustainable energy harvesting solutions, right? Be it like wind, solar, or any fuel cell based solution, right? So this is a challenge in front of us, that how we can allocate the space to these solar photovoltaic plants. And more specifically, you can say that with the increasing number of nations, right, they are their population is also increasing, so they find it difficult to allocate the space for their own population, right? So that's why they are not able to allocate the space for these solar photovoltaic plants. Already, government has started to establish the sort of photovoltaic plant on the rooftop of institutional buildings, hospitals, right? So everywhere they are trying to allocate the space, right? The space that is basically in no use. So that space can be given to the solar photovoltaic plant. Similarly, highways are basically, you can say that suppose from American point of view, you can say that the one third of that space is basically allocated for the highways. So that space can be utilized for the energy generation. And highways basically generate energy in many forms, right? So sunshine, or you can say that solar road is basically one form of energy. Another form of energy is basically through the piezoelectric material, right? That I will discuss a little bit about this piezoelectric material and how the energy is generated by using the piezoelectric material. Another form of energy is like thermoelectric generator. So these three are the popular energy generating methods that can be utilized to generate or to extract the energy from the highways, right? And because already progress of the highway or the construction of the highway is going in a great pace, right? That's why I'm telling that this place or the space allocated to the highway can be utilized for this system. So in this entire context, we can say that we look at the highways and the road system as a viable source for this alternative energy. You can say that, and harvesting energy from the roadways seems to be a genius solution, right? If anybody, or you can say that any company, implement this process, they can generate a lot of energy by just implementing the solar photovoltaic system either over the roadways, or you can say that the highways, or the place that is allocated to the highways, or you can say that the place that is near to the highways, right? So both place can be utilized. Or suppose you can say that the suppose one toll booth is there, so big toll booth space, the roof of the big toll booths can be utilized to generate the power by using the solar photovoltaic system. The two important aspect of this power generation is like that, okay, suppose remote area is there, and one highway is going through that remote area, so it is difficult to supply the energy to that remote area by using the conventional grid, right? Because of the accessibility. So in that case, you can say that, okay, the highways or the area that is associated with the highway can be utilized for the solar photovoltaic system, and that energy generated can be utilized for the smart signaling system, traffic signs, uh, traffic lights, everything related to the highways, or you can say that the energy consumption for the highway, that can be supplied at that place only, right? So this way, dual, you can say that benefits are there. One benefit is like that you can save the money, that is basically to transfer the power from the grid to that remote place, and second is the renewable energy component is increasing in this way. So these are basically, you can say that the ways, different ways that how the power basically can be harvested from the roads, piezoelectric roads, and dynamic speed bumps. This is also important factor, and this factor is basically the speed bumps basically utilized for the city, or you can say that in a busy city, these speed bumps can be utilized to generate the energy, because traffic is very much intense in the big cities. So this form of energy is also popular in big cities, and several projects are going in European countries and the US, right, related to this dynamic speed bumps. So the energy generated by these speed breakers can be utilized for the signal controlling and for the traffic lights. Everything can be utilized. And another one is the solar road. Solar road is basically practically possible for the highways, right? The highways, those are going through the remote areas. So at that place, solar photovoltaic system can be installed, right? And that energy can be utilized. Another aspect of this, that this smart road or the energy harvesting from the road, is that some roads are basically inherently prepared for the vehicle charging, right? So these roads are specifically prepared for the charging stations, right? So directly the charging of the vehicle can be compensated by using these roads only. So this is also another way of energy harvesting from the roads. Another one is the smart wireless digital traffic signs, right? This is also important because if you are including the IoT into the picture, then you need this wireless system, right? And this wireless system is basically earlier is basically this entire wireless system is either dependent on the grid supply or dependent on the batteries. But now the green energy, when the green energy comes into the picture, so the energy that is generated by using these renewable sources, that energy can be utilized for this wireless system and for this IoT kind of systems, right? Another important aspect of the energy harvesting is like that, okay, suppose if you are harvesting the energy from the road or from the highways, that can be utilized for the traffic monitoring by using the IoT. That can be utilized to maintain the drone system. Suppose if you want to maintain the city, the traffic of the city through the drones, so that drones can be managed or can be supplied through the energy that is generated from the highways or from the roadways itself, right? So these are the several aspects that how the energy can be generated from the roads, from the highways. So first is basically related to this piezoelectric part. And in this piezoelectric part, you can say that the electricity can be generated by applying stress onto the piezoelectric material. So in this case, the roads are basically designed by using this piezoelectric material, right? And when the heavy vehicles, you can say that, or the vehicles go over the this piezoelectric material. So because of this charge accumulation, so positive negative pole will be developed and accordingly current will flow, right? Potential difference will be there, so current will flow. So this way the energy can also be generated, and you can say that several crystalline ceramic materials, for example, lead, zirconate, titanate, PZT, and several polymer kind of material. So this is basically all about related to the material. Different kinds of material can be utilized, right, to generate the energy, right, through this piezoelectric mode. But the only problem with this piezoelectric mode is first point is like that, the construction part, right? So construction becomes very much difficult because you have to maintain the strength of the road and you have to install the piezoelectric material. So both the things you need to take care simultaneously. And second, the difficult thing is that the energy that is generated by using this piezoelectric rods is in the form of very small, you can say that in the form of milliwatt or in the form of small amount. This energy can only be utilized for the signaling purpose, right? For the signaling of the traffic lights or for the signal lights, like this, you can say that. So this is basically, you can say, the one form of energy that can be utilized. And this form of energy is very much helpful in remote areas. In remote areas, suppose you just need to install 2, 3 signaling kind of system in the hilly areas or in the remote areas. So for those signals and to install the signaling lights, you can use the piezoelectric material over there, over that part only. Another important aspect related to the energy harvesting is the thermoelectric energy harvesting. This is also, you can say that, the important one because the energy that can be generated by using this concept is also good one, you can say that. So using thermoelectric generators, right, one can also harvest the energy from the roads. And the basic concept behind this thermoelectric generator is the Seebeck effect, right? Seebeck is a German scientist. Seebeck was a German scientist, and he had given this idea that okay, the energy can be generated by using this thermoelectric effect, right? So this energy, you can say that the related to the geothermal, or you can say that the geothermal energy, right? That geothermal energy is basically converted into electricity, right? So the geothermal energy refers to the energy generated by the difference in the heat between the surface of the road and the layers underneath, right? So you just need to take the potential difference, the heat difference between the two layers, right? So higher the temperature differential, the larger the amount of electricity generated. So this makes that this kind of solution especially suitable for the regions that have extremely hot weather year around. Suppose if you can say that this kind of system is more suitable for the Gulf countries where the temperature is always around 47, 50 degrees Celsius. So at that place, these thermoelectric generators can be helpful for the energy generation through the road. The this thermal gradient basically this Seebeck effect is basically defined that the thermal gradient between the surface temperature and the pavements, or you can say that the underneath surface, right? That temperature or that gradient is basically utilized to generate the electrical power, right? Through these thermoelectric generators, right? So this, you can say that if you want to develop the prototype, so this prototype generally collects the heat from the pavements, and suppose if you want to take an example, I have taken this example from one of the research paper. So they have suggested that the TEG prototype, they have prepared this TEG prototype of 64 into 64 length, right? So this 64 by 64 prototype is capable of generating an average of around 10 milliwatt, right? Over a period of 8 hours or 10 hours, right? And they have taken the data, experimental data, the prototype data of the South Texas, right? So this data is generally basically taken from one of the research paper. So from this, you can understand that, okay, this much of space or this much of prototype can generate this much of power. So if the gradient is more, the temperature difference is more, so this energy will be increased, right? So that's why you can say that, okay, this is also a solution. You can generate the energy by using this thermoelectric effect, right? If you want to scale up the prototype using multiple TEG units, so that could generate the sufficient electricity to sustainably uh, flow the power to the low watt LEDs light, roadway traffic lights, traffic sensors, right? Remote sensors. So those things can be supplied by using this thermoelectric generators. One important aspect related to this thermoelectric generator is that first you have to identify the space, identify the areas where you want to install these thermoelectric generators, right? So by using the drones or by using the experimental setup, first you just need to allocate the space, because see, one highway is there and a long highway is there, so the temperature difference, or you can say that the temperature is different at different positions because of the geographical location. So kindly mark those conditions and those areas where the potential is higher or the heat intensity is more concentrated. So there, this thermoelectric generators can be utilized, and this thermoelectric generator will be helpful for generating the energy, right? So this technology is also in use at several places, specifically in higher temperature regions. These thermoelectric generators have been already installed and utilizing for the purpose of this roadway signaling sensors and everything. One in another aspect that I have not covered in the PPT, I will tell you that the energy can be harvested from the sound. The cars, suppose cars, or you can say that the heavy trucks, those are passing through the roads. So the energy can also be generated by using the sound, or you can say that the sound energy can be converted into the electrical energy. So this is also a source of energy. That, okay, suppose crowdy area is there where the you can say that the traffic strength is very high. So in that case, or in those areas, you can also generate the energy from the sound. But another aspect of this energy, this form of energy, is that, okay, very low amount of energy can be generated by using this sound energy system, right? But this is also another form of energy, that you can generate the energy by using this sound energy or the vibration energy into the electrical energy. So these are the ways that you can utilize to generate the energy from the highways or from the roads. So now our final and you can say that the best solution for the energy harvesting is the solar energy harvesting. And by using this solar energy harvesting method, one can generate abundant amount of energy by using the highway, by using the surface of the highway, and by using the side space of the highways, right? So I will discuss this part in the detail so that you will get a better insight of the solar energy conversion, solar energy generation, and how the generated energy can be utilized, and how the power electronic plays an important role. Because being a electrical engineer, power electronic is an essential part for this energy generation process. And being a computer science and IT people, the IoT part come into the pictures. Okay, the intelligent controllers are there, the digital controllers are there. So those digital controllers can be utilized to transfer the data, right? And the data can be utilized to access through the internet or through the Wi-Fi module, right? and one can operate these digital controllers automatically by using this IoT technique. So that part belongs to the IoT people, you can say that. Important thing is that sun is basically sun, or you can say that solar energy is basically abundant in the form, right? So two aspects are there related to this solar energy harvesting. One aspect is that the energy that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system requires a better solar panels so that you can extract the maximum power. And this part is basically continuously monitored, or several researchers are working in this area. They want to enhance the efficiency of the solar panels, already available solar panels, right? So earlier the efficiency of the solar panel was around 12%, 30%, and then goes up to 20, 18, 20%, right? And now several new solar panels are already coming into the pictures, and the people those are associated with those panels, they are claiming that their efficiency will be around 28%, right? So recently, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, right, they have developed one gallium arsenide-based PV cell, and the efficiency or conversion efficiency of that panel is around 28%. So this is also a great development going into this field. Second development is related to the power electronic system, because several power electronic converters are coming into the picture. Earlier, you can say that it was like only, okay, boost converter, okay, inverter, right? So two-stage, two-level inverter, directly you have to use that two-stage, two-level inverter and control that inverter and supply the energy to the grid. But in these days, several new converters, new power electronic systems are coming into the pictures. So because of this, the energy that is generated from the solar photovoltaic system can easily transfer to the grid with maximum efficiency, you can say that, right? Because suppose today we get the boost inverter, so that inverter or the single power electron device can be utilized for both boosting purpose and for inverting purpose, right? So this way you can say that two amendments are going at the same time. People are working in the area of this solar photovoltaic cell generation or the solar panel generation, and those who are working in the power electronic. And third aspect is related to this intelligent part, that is basically covered by the IoT. So there are certain challenges. Suppose through the highways, you can also generate the energy by applying the solar photovoltaic panels on the road itself, right? The first point is that, okay, you just need to make the road with the solar photovoltaic panels. So in that case, challenges are more, because first challenge is like cost will be huge, right? In that case, second is that the metal or the the glass layer on the top of the panel should be of high strength, right? Otherwise, if the heavy vehicles will pass through that solar photovoltaic panel, so they can damage. And this glass material should be grippy enough so that the braking mechanism can be employed, right? So this way you can say that directly the employment or the implementation of the solar photovoltaic panels onto the surface itself, onto the surface of the highway itself, is a difficult task, right? You can install the solar photovoltaic panel on the you can say that the sideway tracks or the footpaths, that you can done, then energy from that part can be generated. But in that case, one more difficulty is there. Okay, the difficulty is related to the tilt angle, right? So if you are using the photovoltaic panel on the plain road, so the tilt angle will be 90-degree, but the 90-degree tilt angle will not give the maximum energy that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system. So this is also important. So because of this, the direct installation of the solar photovoltaic panel on the footpath or on the road is not advisable, right? Because challenges are more. The second solution is related to the overhead panel installation. So this solution is, you can say that, fairly good one, because the advantages are more with this installation. Okay, so in this case, suppose you can take an example of any road, right? So the benefits are related to the lifespan of the road. Suppose if you are installing the solar photovoltaic panel over the highway, because suppose you are taking an example of 4-lane road, right? I have included one example. I'll show you. Yes, this you can say that suppose each lane of a national highway has a width of 3.5 meter, right? This example is basically taken from one of the research paper. So they have mentioned that okay, this 200-kilometer two-lane road is basically considered for the overhead solar photovoltaic system, right? They have developed a mathematical model and they have developed a model. So from that model, you can say that okay, that 3.5 for the one lane, so total width will be 7 meter, and for to and fro the total width will be 14 meter, right? And the entire length is 200 kilometers. So in this way, if you are installing the solar photovoltaic system for the 200 kilometer on this highway, you can generate 150 megawatt of the electricity, right, annually. And annually the 163 gigawatt hour of potential will be there. So the huge amount of energy can be generated. The benefits are like that okay, the safety of the road will be there. If the overhead, you can say that the solar photovoltaic system is there, that means that the safety, or you can say that the durability of the road will be high. And second is the if the direct radiations will not fall onto the surface of this road, so that means the durability of the tires will also be higher, right? So minimum road repair will require, longer vehicle tires life will be there, right? Another important aspect is the less air conditioning of the vehicle is required. So these are the other aspects that can be served if you are just installing the solar photovoltaic plant over the highway, right? The only thing that you need to take care is that the installation strength should be fair enough. Otherwise, it will be difficult to sustain the solar photovoltaic panels over the highway. If the installation strength is good one, then you can say that it will you can say that it will benefit in several ways, right? I already told you the different benefits, and the main motive is like energy generation that can also be generated. So this 150 megawatt for this 200-kilometer four lane highway is a good amount of energy, right? So you can generate this much of energy from one highway. And if you have several highways in a country like India, several four lane highways, six lane highways, so directly if you are installing the photovoltaic panels over the roof height, you can generate huge amount of power, right? Another aspect is that okay, if you are installing the solar photovoltaic panel only on the sideways, right? Because when a two lane or four lane road is there, so space is allocated in between the roads, right? And space is also, you can say that median way. So you can also install your solar photovoltaic panel on the median part, on the sideways part. So that can also be helpful, right? And this sideway part and this median part is already into the pictures. Several Chinese companies and several companies in the European countries, they are start, or you can say that they are in the process of the installing of this solar photovoltaic panel on the sideways part. You can visualize this, that scenarios of the solar energy power transformation. It's a covered land, that the tunnel median, station rooftop, right, track side land. So the land that is related to this highway can be directly utilized for the solar photovoltaic panel. So this is also an important factor, and this is the best solution. And currently researchers and the government policies are working on this. They are extracting the energy from this part only. So now our main focus is that how this energy that is coming from this solar photovoltaic system is basically converted into the usable form. So you just need to observe this diagram, right? So carefully observe this diagram. In this picture, you can say that this is basically a complete block diagram of the simple grid connected solar photovoltaic system. So in this picture, you can say that solar photovoltaic system is there, grid is there, right? And the remaining things are related to the interfacing system, or you can say that the power electronic interface, right? So you should require a PV inverter, and you need a boost converter, or you can say that the DC to DC converter, right? And you need a transformer, line frequency transformer, 50 hertz transformer. You need a filter to filter out the harmonics that are coming from the solar photovoltaic system. You need a DC link capacitor, heavy DC link capacitor, because this DC link capacitor is the backbone of this entire control structure. So this DC link capacitor will try to maintain the energy balance from the solar photovoltaic system to the grid side. So this way you can say that okay, this is the entire system. In this system, 2-3 power electronic interfaces are optional, you can say that. Suppose you are directly using this PV inverter, you can use that. Systems comes under the category of single stage system. And if you are using this DC to DC converter, that systems comes under the category of double stage system. So both the systems are you can say that are utilized for the generation of the solar photovoltaic energy. The only advantage with this two-stage system is that this system can be implemented for the low voltage system. Suppose at your home, you want to install the solar photovoltaic system. So in that case, the voltage level of the solar photovoltaic system is very less. So in that case, you need a boost converter first to maintain the DC-link voltage level. So this way you can say that, okay, the two-stage system is also important. And in larger plants where you can easily get, suppose you are talking about the highway, so in that case, you can easily get the 700 DC-link voltage. So that way you can directly connect the PV system to the PV inverter. And the output of the PV inverter is basically connected to the grid through a line frequency transformer. Basically, this line frequency transformer is also an optional component. You can say that sometimes transformer less inverter can also be implemented, and sometimes inverter with the transformer can be implemented. Another aspects, those I already mentioned that, okay, the module prices are currently, you can say that the prices are continuously decreasing. Government is trying to provide the more and more incentives, right? And the grid codes are becoming normal, or you can say that grid agreements are becoming favorable for this solar energy conversion system. So this way you can say that several benefits are there, and by using these benefits or by using these advantages, researchers and the government policies are looking towards the energy generation from the solar photovoltaic system. And these are the two systems, the single line diagram of the single stage system and the double stage system, right? I already told you that both the systems are basically essential and important for generating the electricity, right? And both have their own advantage and disadvantages, you can say that. Suppose if you want to talk about the single stage system, so this is basically the simplest one and the compact one, because only one power electronic device is there, and it is easy to control that one power electronic system, right? But the problem is that, okay, two control algorithm you have to implement simultaneously, one for the solar photovoltaic system, because you need to extract the maximum power from the installed solar photovoltaic panel, that is MPPT, and you have to implement this MPPT through this inverter, and you have to implement the inverter control algorithm that is basically utilized to synchronize this converter with the grid at the point of common coupling that you can observe from this first diagram on the left hand side. This is basically related to the single line diagram of the single stage system, right? So this way you can say that, okay, this system has some advantage, some disadvantage.
Excuse
Similarly
me,
for the
sir.
double stage system.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, yes.
Can you please increase your mic volume? Actually,
Sir,
somewhat, if
sir,
you can.
okay, sir. Okay, I will look into this. Now it is okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ma'am,
Okay, okay.
Nishita, ma'am, voice is coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay. So I was just discussing about the analysis of this single stage and double stage topology. So this is just for the overview that, okay, you can go for the both the topologies based on the requirement and based on the availability, right? Suppose if you are going for a long highway, or you can say that the solar photovoltaic panels that are installed on the highway, right? So in that case, the voltage is sufficient. Directly, you can go for the single stage. One inverter is sufficient enough. You can control that inverter through the digital controller, right? And you can generate the power. Now, how this system is basically designed. So I will give you a brief idea that how the system is designed, or you can say that you can also develop this system in the laboratory itself. If you are able to generate the energy from the solar photovoltaic system in the laboratory, then you can scale up for the bigger system, right? So initially, if you want to know something about this design part and the power electronic part and the controlling part, then you can say that, okay, first go to the laboratory, develop prototype. And if that prototype is ready, then you can go for the bigger scale, and you can also enhance that in a bigger picture way, right? So this introduction part is basically related to the generation, or you can say that the design of the power electronic system and the auxiliary circuits. Those circuits are required to control the power electronic converter. So this is essential part, you can say that. Second essential part is the implementation. Implementation means you need a digital controller. Digital controller means you can control this through the microcontroller. You can control this through the DSpace, DSP, and any other controller. Suppose FPGA you have, so you can control this through any controller, or even you can use Arduino for the laboratory scale type of prototype. So in that case, you have to utilize the control algorithm, you have to develop your own control algorithm, and then you can generate the power. This is the entire system of the grid connected solar photovoltaic system, right? And in this system, you can observe, okay, I have taken the example of two-stage system, and this system I have developed in the laboratory, right? So in this system, solar photovoltaic system is connected to the boost converter. I have taken the, you can say that the conventional converter, that is boost converter, and this boost converter output is basically connected to the inverter module, right? And that inverter module is basically interfaced, or you can say that interfaced at the point of common coupling through the interfacing inductor. So I will tell you the importance of these interfacing inductor, right? First important aspect of these interfacing inductors are like, these inductors are utilized to transfer the energy from the solar photovoltaic, or you can say that from the inverter to the grid, or to the point of common coupling. Without these inductors, you cannot transfer the energy. So this is the first aspect. Second aspect is these inductors are also utilized to suppress the harmonics in the current. Somehow some harmonics will be there in the output current, right? So those harmonics, or you can say that the jitters that are coming because of the switching of the semiconductor devices, or switching of the power electronic switches. So those jitters can also be minimized by using these inductors. The role of the inverter is like, okay, you have to convert DC to AC. Second important role of this inverter is you have to control the power, or control the current in such a way that it will try to maintain the power quality, right? So 3 and 4 important aspects are there. First important aspect is the energy generation that is generated by using this solar photovoltaic system needs to be transferred. And second important aspect is the power quality improvement. So power quality improvement means that you have to reduce the harmonics, source current harmonics. You have to mitigate the reactive power, or you can say that reactive power compensation, load balancing, right? Source balancing, and power factor improvement. So these are the 3, 4, 5 aspects. Those are related to the power quality. They should be controlled through this inverter only. The role of this boost converter is like, okay, you have to maintain the DC link voltage, right, at a certain level. So that DC link voltage is basically maintained by using this boost converter. So this is the important part of this boost converter. Now come to this controlling part. This controlling part is also essential. For this controlling part, suppose I am using this ARM Cortex based M4 microcontroller, right? You can use any controller. So this controller require analog signal. So this is the, you can say that the beauty of this controller, okay, it will require the signal in the form of analog, and then those analog signals are basically converted into the digital one, and then this digital controller will perform the desired operation according to the control algorithm that you have developed in the MATLAB, or you can say that any software that you can use. And this controller is basically controlled through this IoT kind of arrangement, because this controller is directly connected to the Wi-Fi module, and that Wi-Fi module will transfer the data to this SCADA system, and you can visualize, you can monitor each and every data, the important data related to the current, related to the power, related to temperature, irradiance. So those data can be monitored at a remote place by using this IoT, and you can control this through the remote place only. So this way you can say that your controller becomes intelligent one, because you are incorporating the IoT with this system. And the analog signal that you need for this controller are basically coming from the sensing part. So first you need the sensing arrangement, sensors like current transformer and the potential transformer. So you need 3 CT for the current extraction, 3-phase current extraction, 3 potential transformer for the voltage extraction, and similarly for performing the DC link operation, you need the DC link voltage. And if you want to perform the MPPT operation, that MPPT operation will require IPV and the VPV. So for that case, you need the current and the voltage from the solar photovoltaic system. So these signals are generally sensed by using the sensors, and the output of the sensors is very low. So you have to sometimes you have to amplify that output, and you have to condition that output, because that output should be smooth enough so that it can be easily transferred or converted to the digital one. And sometimes if the ADC of the controller is unipolar, suppose in the microcontroller the ADCs are unipolar. So I will explain what is unipolar. Unipolar means that the waveform that are coming should be a positive value only, right? So the values of the signal should be above 0 only, right? So that means that the signal that is coming have positive side and negative side. So first you need to convert that signal by using the shifting circuit into the unipolar one, and then that unipolar signal is given to this microcontroller, and the output of the microcontroller is basically given to the gate driver circuit. Gate driver circuit is basically essential for this power electronic system, because anyhow you have to control this power electronic system. So the intelligent controller will give the output to this gate driver circuit. Why the gate driver circuit is required? This is also a part of this design part. You can say that generally the output that are coming, or you can say that the pulses that are coming from the microcontroller are in the range of 0 to 3.3 volt, right? So you have to amplify, or you can say that the modify these pulses to a level of 15 volt, because your IGBT will require a voltage range of 0 to 15 volt, or you can say that -5 to 15 volt. Suppose you have MOSFET in the inverter, that MOSFET will require 0 to 12 volt. The IGBT will require -5 to 15 volt. So for that case, you need extra circuitry, and that circuitry is basically known as the gate driver circuit, right? So you need any gate driver circuit. That gate driver circuit will fulfill the requirement of this IGBT inverter, and then you can fire the switches of the inverter, and then you can transfer the power that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system to the grid. So it looks like very simple at first hearing that, okay, the energy that is generated from the solar photovoltaic system can be transferred to the grid. Okay, this is the only thing. But once you go into the deep, once you dive into the system, then you need to know, okay, this is the power electronic system. You need to fire this power electronic system. For the firing purpose, for the controlling purpose, you need several extra circuitries: signal conditioning circuitry, signal sensing circuitry, shifting circuit, gate driver circuit, pulse isolation, amplification, everything you need, right, to incorporate this entire system. So before going into the designing part, I will give you one example that, okay, how switch is basically, one single switch is basically fired by using any controller. So this way, this is your switch IGBT. You are saying, I'm saying this is your IGBT, you can say. So this IGBT is basically connected to a lamp load, right? And DC is basically applied. So if you want to apply the gate pulse to this single switch, you need several mechanisms, right? Because this is your controller. See, this is your controller, and your controller will give the output in the range of 0 to 3.3 volt. Suppose you are using DSpace, the DSpace will provide 0 to 5 volt, but right? So no controller will give the voltage greater than 5 volt. So if you are getting the voltage in the range of 3.3 or 5, you need amplification circuit, first thing, because your IGBT will require -5 to 15 volt, right? Second thing is that the controller is the important part. The controller is the costlier part, right? This is basically the power circuit, because high power is connected. Sometimes load is heavy one connected across your inverter and the converter. So in that case, you can say that, okay, power circuit is basically very high power circuit, and your controller is basically costly. So you just need to provide a isolation between these two circuits. Somehow, if any, you can say that fault is there near to this part, so that fault can damage this controller. So for that case, you need a isolation, right, between the controller and the power circuit. So for that case, you need a gate driver circuit that can provide the amplification plus isolation both, right? So for that case, you need this optocoupler kind of ICs. So you can use TLP250, TLP350. These are the ICs, those can be utilized for the isolation purpose, and this entire circuit can be utilized to implement, or you can say that to amplify the pulses that are coming from the controller in the range of -5 to 15. Why -5? -5 is basically required to remove the excess charges, right? Excess charges during the off condition. Some excess charges will be there near the gate terminal. So those charges will be removed by using this reverse voltage, right? This -5 reverse voltage will be applied across this gate, and these charges can be removed. So this is better for the switch on and switch off operation. Now, another important aspect is, suppose if you are using this IC, you need a voltage, right? Regulated DC voltage. So for that case, if you are getting AC, right, 230 volt AC, so from that 230 volt AC, you have to convert this into a regulated DC voltage in the range of +15 to -5. Why +15 to -5? Because you need pulse in the range of +15 to -5. So this extra circuitry is required. This is basically regulated DC supply. In the coming slide, I will show you that how this regulated power supply is designed. This is also another important aspect, that how the gate driver circuit is designed. This is also important factor, that how the control algorithm is designed for this controller. And the another important factor is, okay, how the Wi-Fi module will take the signals and how the IoT and embedded system will take care of the intelligent part. So this way you can say that this much of arrangement is required for a single switch. Now you can imagine that, okay, in your inverter you have 6 switch, right? So you need these kind of arrangement for the 6 switches. Similarly, one switch in the boost converter. So for the 7th time, you have to develop this kind of hardware or extra circuitry so that you can give the pulses to the converters. So this is the first framework. You can say that the design of the power circuit or power network. So in the power circuit, the initial part is basically boost converter. So you have to design the boost inductor LB and the switch that you can take for this boost converter, the only switch. So I have taken this IGBT STG-WNC 120 SD. Voltage rating of this IGBT is around 1200 volts. So this IGBT can be utilized for normal purpose, right? For the medium voltage range, you can say that. And another important power circuit aspect is the design of this inverter. So you have to take care of the switches. Those can be utilized as a switch in the, or you can say that as a lag in the inverter, the 3-lag inverter, right? And one big DC link capacitor. So you have to design the each and every aspect one by one, right? First one is the selection of the boost conductor, or you can say the designing of the boost converter. So the value of the boost converter is basically calculated by this formula. Directly you can use this formula because this formula is associated with the boost converter design. So if you go through the basic power electronic book, you will get this formula and directly you can calculate the value of this boost inductor. So this is important one. Another important aspect is the DC link voltage. So this DC link voltage is also important because this DC link voltage, suppose if you want to take a thumb rule. So according to the thumb rule, you have to take the DC link voltage basically 1.5 times the actual peak voltage. And this DC link voltage will serve like as a balancing arrangement between the solar photovoltaic system or between the boost converter and the inverter. So the careful selection of this DC link voltage is very much essential, right? So VDC you can calculate by using this formula and you will get a certain amount of VDC voltage. So this much of VDC voltage you should keep fixed in the DC link reference, right? Once you design the control algorithm, so in that case, you need a DC link reference. That DC link reference is basically selected by using this formula only. Another one is the DC link capacitor. This is essential because this DC link voltage will be maintained across the DC link capacitor. So electrolytic kind of DC link capacitor is required, and how the value is calculated, that value is purely depending on the solar photovoltaic size. Suppose I have taken only 500 watt solar photovoltaic. If you are going for the higher range, so accordingly the capacitor will be different. The value of the capacitor will be different. And the last designing aspect is related to the semiconductor switches, that how the semiconductor switches and the rating of the semiconductor switches is considered. So according to the peak value and according to the safety margin, you can select the voltage and current rating of the semiconductor devices. And based on those rating, you can select any kind of semiconductor devices, either IGBT, either MOSFET, right? According to the requirement of the switching frequency. Suppose if you want to go for the higher switching frequency, you just need to focus on the MOSFET itself. And if you are going for the lower switching frequency, around 20 kilohertz, around 15 kilohertz, around 5 kilohertz for the inverter. So in that case, you can go for the IGBT, right? So this way you can select according to your requirement, according to the calculation. Last but important also, I told you that the interfacing inductors are very much important, and you have to calculate the values of these interfacing inductors. These are basically 50 hertz inductor. Remember this, because they are connected in the line after the inverter, right? So they work on the 50 hertz frequency. So the size of these inductors will be bigger enough, right? So the careful calculation is very much essential. See, if you want to take the 2.65 millihenry, so the weight of the 2.65 millihenry inductor will be around 4 kilos, 3 kilos, like this. So you have to select these inductors very carefully. And now the designing of the measuring and the conditioning circuit. So initially I told you that you have to extract the signals from the line voltage and from the, you can say that the line current. Those signals needs for the controller, for the control part, or you can say that for the digital controller. So initially you have to sense the analog signals by using this transducers or the sensors. So for that case, suppose I have taken this LEM based LA25NP, right, for the extraction of the current signals, right? So this circuit is basically known as the current sensing circuit. So the important aspect of this current circuit is the current sensing circuit is that you need a power supply, the regulated DC power supply. So for that case, you have to develop a power supply in the range of plus 15 to minus 15 volt, and that power supply is basically connected to this system, this sensor, or the output of the sensor will be amplified by using the amplification circuit. So you can observe from this figure B. The figure B is basically the experimental result with the sense signal and the amplified one. So the upper one connected at channel 1, right, that is input signal 3.10 ampere, you can observe from this diagram. And the second one is the sensor output in the range of millivolt, right? And third one is the amplified output, because see, if you want to give the output to the ADC of the controller, so you need some amplified one. In millivolt, if you are giving, so it will be difficult for the ADC to convert into the digital one. So better to amplify this. So for that case, you need another amplification circuit. That amplification circuit will also take care of this amplification part and will require plus 15 to minus 15 volt of supply, regulated supply. Similarly, for the voltage sensing circuit, things are quite similar, right? You need two supplies, right? So you have to provide the supply to the amplification circuit, to the voltage sensing circuit, right? And you can calculate the output current, that I naught current and RV naught. RV naught is basically the resistance that is required to connect across the output. And you can observe the results in the waveform. That input voltage is 28.7 volt, then the sensor output is in the range of millivolt, 153 millivolt, very less voltage signal or very low voltage signal. So this voltage signal is basically amplified by using this sensing circuit, or by using the amplification circuit is in the range of 1 volt. This is basically the circuit for the signal amplification circuit, right? So this is just a basic circuit. The basic op-amp ICs are utilized in the 3 stages, and initial stage and the final stage is the buffering stage, that the signal that is coming should be buffered enough through these 2 stages, and the middle stage is basically the scaling one. So here you can use a potentiometer of 10 kilo ohm, right? 10 kilo ohm, 0.5 watt potentiometer you can use, right? So that potentiometer is utilized to increase the amplitude of the signal that is coming from the sensors. So this circuit is basically known as the amplification circuit. So you can observe the result for the current and for the voltage signals, that okay, the amplitude can be further improved or further amplified. And these are the actual designing, or you can say that actual picture of this current sensor and the voltage sensor, that LA25NP, LEM based current sensor, and the voltage sensor, LEM based voltage sensor. And on the right side, amplification board is there, amplification circuit for the 3 stages. So 3 ICs, TL081, 3 ICs, right? And this blue is basically blue one in the top right picture. You just need to observe. So this is basically potentiometer, right? One screw is there over that potentiometer, and that screw is basically utilized to change the voltage level of the signal. And on the left side, top right corner, and this is you can say that supply is there. So 230 by 15015 transformers are utilized, and then current sensors are there. So this way, this is the actual picture of this circuit that is basically designed in the laboratory. And this is the important circuit, because at the several places you need regulated DC supply. So this is a very easy one. You can directly go through this one, because see, you need a transformer of 15015. 15015 means you need center tape transformer from 230 to 15015, and the output of this transformer should be given to the rectifier. So directly you can use 4 diode, that signal diode IN4081, or you can use the BR61 direct rectifier is there, market mein available rehta hai. So this rectifier can be directly utilized to convert into the DC, and the output of the DC is basically passed through the capacitor arrangement, that is C1 by 2, C1 by 2. So you can use capacitor of 22 microfarad, 35 volt. 35 volt is essential, because 015 transformer is there. So at least the capacitor range should be greater than the 35 volt, 30 volt. After that, the important part is the regulated IC. So 7815 is the regulated IC, 7915 is the regulated IC. See, if you need a voltage rating in the form of plus 15, so you need 7815. If you need voltage in the range of 5 volt, so you need 7805. So 78XX is the regulated IC for the positive voltage. 79XX is the regulated IC for the negative voltage. So for the positive voltage, if you need 5 volt, you can use 7805. For the 12 volt, you can use 7812. For 15, 7815. Similarly for the negative. And after this regulated IC, again, you can use smaller capacitor for better smoothing and for complete DC power, complete DC voltage. So this way you can design the regulated DC supply, and this regulated DC supply is essential for each and every auxiliary circuit in the system that is basically required for this solar photovoltaic system. And this is the shifting circuit. You need this shifting circuit in case of DSP and in case of microcontroller. If you are using DSpace, then no need of this shifting circuit. Directly you can dump or you can connect the bipolar signal to the ADCs of the DSpace, because the ADCs of the DSpace are bipolar in nature usually, right? So you can directly connect. And if you are using microcontroller and DSP, so ADCs are basically unipolar. So you need to shift your signal, right, by a certain amount. So this way you can see, you can observe the right side diagram, the experimental results, right? Input current signal is there, the amplified output signal. The amplified output is basically bipolar. See, 0x is in between the upper peak and lower peak. And the last one, the green signal, is basically shifted output signal. That signal is basically shifted above zero level, right? Channel is basically below that signal. So that signal is basically shifted. So potentiometry kind of arrangement is there, and you can utilize this op-amp IC. A simple in and out experimental work you can do by using this shifting circuit. This is also a circuit that is required for the inverter. Basically, see, the pulses that are going into the inverter are complementary in nature, right? So there are two switches in each leg. So at one point, or you can say that during the positive half cycle, suppose one switch is in on condition, so other switch should be there in the off condition, right? So when the second switch will come into the on position, the first switch should go into the off, right? This way you can say that the leg cannot be shorted. So there must be a dead band in between the incoming pulse and the outgoing pulse, right? So the dead band should be created to avoid the shoot through problem. If you are not able to generate the perfect dead band, or you can say that the minimum dead band required, that means that the complete leg of the inverter will be short circuited. So to avoid that problem, you need extra deadband circuitry of 2 microsecond, 3 microsecond, or 5 microsecond. This 3 and 4 microsecond, you can say that the gap between the incoming pulse and the outgoing pulse. Incoming pulse means first pulse is for the switch 1, you can say that, and the second switch is basically in off condition of that leg. So once the first switch goes in the off condition, there must be a gap, and after that gap, second switch should be on. So this way you can say that there must be a gap between the incoming pulse and the outgoing pulse. That is basically utilized or designed by using the deadband circuitry. And deadband circuitry is nothing but by using this AND gate circuit and NOT gate circuit. So NOT gate IC is there. You can directly use this NOT gate IC 7404 and AND gate IC 7408. And the supply required for these IC is in the range of 0 to 5 volts. So 7805 regulator IC can be utilized to generate the regulated DC power. So this way you can generate the deadband. This is the actual designing of the gate driver circuit. I already told you that, okay, TLP 250 is required. So this TLP 250 is basically the optocoupler IC. And this optocoupler IC is basically required for this isolation purpose, right? So that you can provide the isolation between the power circuit and the microcontroller, because the microcontroller will provide the pulses. So this 680 ohm, the input pulse from the deadband circuit or from the microcontroller that are coming. So this 680 ohm or the 700 ohm, this resistance value is basically decided by seeing the you can say that the parameter of this TLP 250, right? So you can calculate this value by seeing the data sheet of this TLP 250. And similarly, on the output side, you need two important resistances, right? R-off and R-on. So this R-on is basically utilized to maintain the current, because see, somehow you have to maintain a certain level of current for the pulse that is going into the switch. And this R-off is basically utilized to generate a sufficient resistance during the off condition, so that during the off condition, reverse flow will not be there, right? So this way you can say that R-on and R-off can be designed for this gate driver circuit. You can go through the data sheet of ILP 250, everything will be there, right? So accordingly you can decide. And at the output you can use a big you can say that the resistance 18 kilo ohm, or you can say that 12 kilo ohm resistance to sustain the pulses. So you can observe this hardware results, right? So that yellow part, or you can say that the orange pulse is basically the pulse that are coming from the converter, coming from the controller. So this is in the range of 2.83 volt, or you can say that the 3 volt. And now observe this blue one. So this is in the range of -5 to +15 volt, right? So minimum to maximum you will get, and this pulse is sufficient enough to drive the IGBT of the inverter. These are the different auxiliary circuits. These circuits have been designed in the laboratory itself, right? So in the top left corner, sensing and the conditioning board is there for the sensing of the analog signals that are coming from the power circuit, right? Voltage signals and the current signals. And on the top right corner, bipolar to unipolar shifting circuit is there. I already told you that the shifting circuit is required because of the unipolar ADCs of the microcontroller. If the ADC are bipolar, then no need of this bipolar to unipolar shifting circuit. And in the top left, in the bottom left corner, you can say gate driver circuit is there, right? So this gate driver circuit is utilized to drive the gate of the IGBT switches. Those are available in the inverter. And in the right side, complementary circuit. So I will tell you the basics of this complementary circuit. See, you are getting 3 pulses from this microcontroller, and you have to just need to generate the 3 complementary pulse. So you can generate the complementary of the originally generated pulses, because in inverter the total 6 pulses are required. So 3 pulses are the original pulses and 3 pulses are basically the complementary ones. So these complementary pulses are generated by using this complementary circuit, right? And this way you can generate the pulses you can apply to the system. This is the entire laboratory developed prototype in the laboratory itself for the grid connected solar photovoltaic system. So this way you can visualize, okay, how much circuitries are required to generate the power that is coming from, or you can say that to transfer the power that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system to the grid. This much of the circuit. You can combine this in a simple compact form, and that can be utilized at a different sites. But first you need to go deeper into the each and every aspect of this designing of the prototype, and then you can combine, or you can make a compact of this entire circuit or entire prototype, and you can easily utilize for the solar photovoltaic system. And now the design of the control algorithm. See, this entire system will work only on behalf of the control algorithm, and this control algorithm is basically generated by using the computer programming or MATLAB Simulink, right? So either you can use programming or either you can use Simulink, both you can use, right? So in that Simulink part, you have to design any control algorithm, and that control algorithm must be capable enough to drive your system in a desired manner. Desired manner means, suppose you want to improve the power quality, that should be there. Because of this control algorithm, you can control the power quality. And another aspect is there, you want to transfer the power that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system, so that aspect should also be there. So this way you can say that, okay, any control algorithm you can design, and this is basically a basic DQ control, and this is the conventional one and the classical one. So preferably used in several industries, this control algorithm, right? So in this control algorithm, the basic concept is like that, okay, the 3 currents that you are getting from the sensing circuit, those currents should be converted into the DQ reference frame, right? DQ reference frame means the DC. You have to convert this into AC into the DC part. So these 2 components, that is D component and the Q component, are quadrature with each other. You have to maintain the D component through the LPF, because somehow if some extra oscillation part is there available in there, so that oscillations part can be removed by using this LPF, right? And this LQ part or the Q part is basically removed, because you have to control the reactive power. If you want to control the reactive power, you have to remove this Q part. So only D part will be processed further, and that D part is basically supplied by the PI compensator. That PI compensator is basically nothing but the outer voltage control loop. Outer voltage control loop is basically the voltage that is coming from the solar photovoltaic DC link, and that DC link is basically compared with the reference. That reference is generated or calculated by the formula, and then the error is basically provided to the PI controller, and this output of the PI controller is given to this D component. Why this output is given to this D component? There are 2 aspects. First aspect is basically the output is basically tries to compensate the losses that are occurring into the switches, right? And second component is it will try to maintain the DC link voltage constant. So these 2 aspects are important. See, if the DC link is oscillating, you cannot transfer the power from the DC side to the AC side. So you have to maintain the DC link. For maintaining the DC link, you need the PI controller, and the output is basically integrated with the D component, because you are further processing the D component only. D component is basically the actual component or the component that is containing the useful information, and the Q part is basically related to the reactive power. So you just need to suppress the reactive power, so that way you just need to put 0 in place of this Q part, and then again you have to convert back into the ABC component, and you have 3 reference current, three sinusoidal, you will get three sinusoidal reference current, and these reference currents will be compared with the original currents. Original current means the originally source had some current. So once you compare these two currents, you will get some error, and this error is given to the PWM controller, and this PWM controller will generate the pulses. So this way you can say that it looks very simple, right? And it is very easy one. Classical control algorithm can be utilized directly for any control algorithm, right? For controlling the solar photovoltaic system, for controlling the DSTATCOM, for controlling the wind energy conversion system, you can use this control structure. This is another control algorithm. This is, you can say that the advanced control algorithm, and this is another way of controlling that grid tied solar photovoltaic system. So you can also go through in the end of the presentation, references are given. So in one of the reference, this control algorithm is given, and they have implemented this control algorithm, and they have claimed that okay, the performance of this control algorithm is better than the classical control algorithm. So several control algorithms are available in the literature. You can go through the literature, you will find different type of control algorithm for this grid connected solar photovoltaic system. These are the system parameters that I have adopted for the simulation and experimental test, right? For the experimental part, reduced voltage is taken, right? Because of the limitation in the laboratory itself. So 50-volt prototype is basically generated, and the grid current is basically taken as 3.2 ampere, because 270-watt load is designed, and for the 270-watt 50-volt grid voltage, so accordingly 3.2 ampere current is there, and the grid side impedance is chosen as per the literature, and the capacity of the inverter is also chosen as per the values calculated for the current and the voltage of the switches. Similarly, interfacing inductor, you can calculate boost inductor, DC bus capacitor, VSC switching frequency. Switching frequency is also important, right, for the inverter and for the converter, right? So generally 5 kilohertz and 10 kilohertz switching frequency is utilized for two-level inverter for this grid connected system. And for the boost converter, you can go for higher switching frequency up to 20 kilohertz or 15 kilohertz, 25 kilohertz you can go. DC voltage, you know, from the, you can calculate from the formula that is given, and load you can select as per your requirement, and the solar photovoltaic array you can select. Similar for the simulation, but the simulations are basically on the higher voltage. You can also enhance your experimental value to that level, and once you get the better insight of this prototype, you can also go for the experimental work, or you can say that the industrial prototype or the bigger prototype that is associated with the industry. These are some simulation results for your observation. I will include these simulation results. See, if you are basically incorporating this inverter, so the beauty of this entire structure is like that, okay, if inverter is there, so that inverter can be utilized in two ways. So one important way is that, okay, you have to transfer the active power that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system to the grid. That is the first aspect. Second aspect is like that, okay, this inverter can also be utilized to enhance the power quality. So this way you can observe from the first figure that, okay, at time t is equal to 0.1, when the inverter is basically switched on, so at that point you will see earlier the current was like load current and source current both are equal. So second waveform is source current waveform, third waveform is the load current waveform. So load current is basically completely unbalanced and distorted one. So at 0.01, at till 0.01 t is equal to 0.1 second, the source current is also following the pattern of the load current. But after 0.1 you will see the source current become completely balanced and sinusoidal. That way you can say that, okay, the power quality is improving. The source current harmonics are completely mitigated by using this control algorithm. Once you started the integration of the solar photovoltaic system or the integration of the boost converter at 0.2 second, you can say, okay, the magnitude of the source current is reduced. Why this magnitude is reduced? Because the power that is going into the load is basically shared between the solar photovoltaic system and the grid. And suppose if the enough capacity of the solar photovoltaic system is there, then you can say that the entire power will come from the solar photovoltaic system. Grid need not to supply any power, right? And if excess power is available, that means that excess power will go to the grid, So in that case, the phase of the voltage and the current will be 180 degree, right? So this way you can analyze, okay, these are the results, and if the power is shared, if the only inverter is basically operated, inverter plus my PV injection is there. So everything you can observe. From the top right, you can say that the figure, second figure, you can say active power is there initially. That power is basically coming from the grid, and the power that is coming from the solar photovoltaic is 0 till t is equal to 0.2 second. So in that case, you can say this is your I am talking about this. At this point, right, you are integrating your solar photovoltaic system. So at this point, your PV power is going like this. So 6 kilowatt you have taken 6 kilowatt solar photovoltaic panel. So 6 kilowatt power start flowing from this point. So suddenly this 13 kilowatt power that is coming from the grid reduced to 7 kilowatt, right? Because 6 kilowatt is coming from the solar photovoltaic system. If you have enough solar capacity, then directly you can say that, okay, entire amount will be flowing from the solar photovoltaic system. Similarly, you can observe this. Initially, the reactive power requirement was 5 kVAr. And after this, incorporating this control algorithm or this inverter, you can say that reactive power is reduced to almost 0.1 kVAr, right? And the power factor is drastically improved. You can say that 0.922 unity power factor. And this is the way you can say that, okay, the power that is coming from the solar photovoltaic system is increased from 0 kilowatt to 6 kilowatt with a better response, right? This is the best response, you can say that. So this way you can say that, okay, all the things that you want to incorporate can be incorporated by the control algorithm itself. The active power injection, reactive power mitigation, unity power factor, load balancing. See, here you can say that, okay, the loads are unbalanced, right? This is basically load current waveform, right? And this is source current. So till this point, this load current is following this source current, right? And after this, source current becomes completely sinusoidal. And after this point, magnitude is reduced because power is basically shared. This result is basically included because, see, if any voltage sag is there, voltage swell is there, see, voltage is swelling, right? So at that point, you can say that your DC link is voltage is trying to maintain that operation according to the swell, because DC link voltage, that VDC, if you are calculating, is basically dependent on the VLL. So if you are increasing this VLL, DC link voltage should be increased. But this DC link voltage is trying to maintain the source current sinusoidal. So this is the beauty of this control algorithm. If you are changing anything to this control algorithm, you can play with the auxiliary circuits, you can play with your requirements that, okay, these are the requirements and these things can be incorporated by the different controllers. Two other cases that I have considered, this is basically sudden load perturbation. You can say that load perturbation means suddenly if you are changing the load, if you are increasing the load, or if you are decreasing the load, in that case, you need to observe the response, see the response. See, at this point, load is basically suddenly increasing. At this point, load is decreasing. But see the response of the source current. Source current is sinusoidal enough. Now again, trying to incorporate, or you can say that the following this pattern, but maintaining the shape. Same. This is the power. See, if you have increased the load, the power is increased, right? Similarly, QS and power factor is maintained sinusoidal. Similarly, in case of variable solar irradiance condition, so you are changing the step down in the irradiance from 1000 watt per meter square to something 400 watt per meter square. Accordingly, your PV power will decrease from 6 kilowatt to 2.4 kilowatt. So if the PV power is reduced, so remaining power will be supplied by the grid. See, grid will automatically take care of the load. This way you can say that the better power sharing feature can be achieved if you have perfect control algorithm for the grid connected solar photovoltaic system. And this is the, you can say that this is basically the Simulink diagram, and the Simulink diagram that is utilizing the Weijung environment, and this Weijung environment is basically essential for hardware implementation of this microcontroller, that STM32F407, right? So you have to take this ADC module, right? AN0, 1, 2, these are the ADC signals, analog signals, right? Now they have to convert into the digital one, right? So you have to provide the ADC gain. Why the ADC gain? See, after the sensing circuit, you will get the output in the range of few millivolt, or you can say that the 1 volt, suppose 1 volt you are getting for the 50 volt line to line signal. So you have to again enhance the signal in the range of 50 volts. So this is basically ADC gain that you have to provide. And this constant is basically subtracted to again revert back the signal into the normal bipolar signal one, because already you have converted the signal into the unipolar one. So this constant is required to subtract from that signal so that you will get the perfect bipolar signal, because this is the controlling part. So you need your actual signal, bipolar signal. And then here you can control through the control algorithm. So sensor gain you can also apply it if sensor gain some available is there, right? At this point in this control algorithm itself, you can incorporate your IoT, right? You have to incorporate the different blocks, because see, one LED is there over the microcontroller board. So in that LED, if you want to highlight the voltage signal, the current signal, the DC link signal, and then the PV current, so these signal you want to highlight. So those signals can be highlighted by using this inbuilt block that is already there in the Weijing environment. So these blocks you can utilize, and you can easily highlight the signal onto the screen of this LED. And here these ports are basically there to convert, or you can say that to transmit the signal to the embedded system that is connected through the internet or through the Wi-Fi. So this way, from this control algorithm itself, you can start the intelligent part, you can say that. These are some hardware results, because earlier I have included some experiment simulation results, and these are some hardware results that, okay, when you incorporate the control algorithm through the Simulink, then that control algorithm should be validated through the hardware and through the experimental prototype that you have designed in the laboratory. So these are some hardware results. So in this, you can observe from this first diagram. See, this is your load current at, you can say that, third channel, and this is your source current. So initially, before applying any control algorithm, both source and load current are similar shape, right? And no compensating current is given. After applying the control algorithm, your source current becomes completely sinusoidal. This is your load current, and this is your compensating current, right? So this current will try to compensate this load current or source current in such a way that it will become pure sinusoidal, right? This will the source current. And see, the balancing is there, right? So you have balanced source current, three-phase source current will be there. See, unity power factor operation is there, that both source voltage and the source current will lie in the same phase. Constant DC-link voltage is there. This constant DC-link voltage is also essential to operate this entire system, because the DC-link voltage is variable, then it will be difficult to control this inverter. And see, the power quality is, the TSD of the source current is also reduced below 5%. 5% is the IEEE standard, IEEE 519 standard. This is the grid-tied PV operation. See, this is the magnitude of the source load current, and this is the magnitude of the source current. That means that remaining power will coming from this IPV. This is the IPV, right? So 1.6 ampere current will come from the PV side, and the remaining current will be supplied by the grid. So you can say that power will be shared. And during this case also, your source is completely balanced. The currents coming from the source is completely balanced in phase with the voltage. So you can say that the unity power factor operation is also there. TSD is also below 5%. So this way, satisfactory operation and a good operation, you can say, can be achieved, and the power can be transferred easily. So this will look like that your inverter is basically multifunctional one, right? The inverter is performing several tasks, right? Other than the power transfer from the solar photovoltaic, also including the power quality features. This is the dynamic operation. Dynamic operation means the suddenly you are changing the source current and suddenly you are increasing. In that case, your DC-link voltage should be constant. So your DC-link voltage is constant enough. This is the case of the grid integration. At the point of grid integration, your current is in the limit. So this is the better dynamic response. You can say that during the off condition, you will get better dynamic response. Means the current is basically remaining in the safer limit. If the current goes out of the limit during the switch on and switch off condition, that means that dynamic conditions is poor one. So this case, this control algorithm suggests that the dynamic conditions are also better, because during the switch on condition and the switch off condition, the source current will lie in the safer limit and the DC-link voltage remains constant. And this is the operation that I have observed to replicate the day-night switching. Day-night switching means suddenly I want to switch off the solar photovoltaic system. See, IPV is coming and 400 watt per meter square is basically incorporated, and suddenly switch off this solar photovoltaic system. So immediately your source current will be increased, because load has to supplied by the grid only, right? And similarly, if you are again suddenly switch on the solar photovoltaic system, right? So in that case, the source current will be reduced and DC-link voltage is always maintained constant. So this way you can say that during day-night switching, this control algorithm works perfectly fine. See, this is the power. You can say that, okay, from day operation to the night operation, how the power is basically changing. This is the power from the solar photovoltaic system coming. Immediately, if you are stopping the solar photovoltaic system, or you are switching off this solar photovoltaic system, your power will be reduced to zero, the PV power. So again, your solar photovoltaic, the grid basically take care of the load. And this way, this slide is basically included to show the power quality or the power management feature. See, initially I have considered the load in the range of, this is basically per phase load. So 93 points per phase load is connected. and the per phase reactive power requirement is 30.5 VAR, and the power factor is 0.90. After incorporation of the D-STATCOM or the inverter, you can say that the active power is similar one. Reactive power is reduced to 14.4 kVAR VAR, or the power factor is improved to 0.99. And after implementing the solar photovoltaic system, reactive power is also reduced because power is shared between the grid and the solar photovoltaic system. And your power factor is, you can say that, in the rise in the range of 0.98 or 0.99, and reactive power is also reduced. So this way, this is the overall comparison of without compensation, D-STATCOM operation, grid tied PV operation. This is the basically the multifunctional operation of this multifunctional inverter. And now this the power that is generated by using this solar photovoltaic system is required for this smart city, right? So in this case, you can say that IoT allows us to getting things better, because you can extract the signal by using the smart modules, right? And these smart modules, you can say that the smart modules try to share the information to a cloud that is associated with the Internet of Things and associated with the IoT. From there on, you can monitor or you can visualize the things that is controlled by using this controller only, right? So suppose if you have any power electronic converter, that power electronic converter is basically established with the solar photovoltaic system for the lightning system, for a city, or you can say that for a signaling lights, right? So you can control that controller through the IoT. So this is the best part. And you can also observe the voltage, current, power, irradiance, temperature, everything you can easily manage by using this IoT, right? So you need a better infrastructure for this IoT if you want to control the entire digital controller through the IoT. So you need a better infrastructure, and currently we are getting the best infrastructure for this IoT. The best part related to this IoT based energy management is that this IoT based systems are currently not depending on the AC current that are coming from the grid and the batteries, right? Because they are directly related or connected with the green energy that is coming from the other sources, right? So this way you can say that, okay, the sensors that are connected at the remote areas, they are directly connected with the energy that is generated through the piezoelectric, suppose I am taking, so that the piezoelectric energy generation will work throughout 24 hours, right? So this way you will get the 24-hour electricity to these remote area located sensors, right? And those sensors can easily provide the situation or the signals to this IoT based system. Now, how this system is basically incorporated in the smart city. So these are the two definitions that when I go across several papers related to this smart cities, so I found these two interesting definitions related to the smart cities. And first, the smart city definition is that, okay, the utilization of the information technologies, such as you can say that the Internet of Things, cloud computing, big data, right? So these things should be utilized for planning, construction, management, for the smart services, or you can say that for the services of the city. Then you can say that your city will be smart enough, right? That means that you have to utilize the technologies that is available for the betterment of the planning, construction, the power generation, the power utilization. Then you can say that your city will be smart enough. So this way, smart cities definition, several definitions were there. So I have selected these two definitions. So they will define that, okay, what is the concept of this smart city? Now the concept of this smart city is more related to the roads, smart road, you can say that, because the first and foremost priority of this smart city concept is related to the smart roads. See, if you are going for the technology development part, and if you want to see that, okay, in case of this smart city development, which topic is basically currently taken care. So the smart roads, the smart traffic signals are basically currently taken care by this IoT based system, that how the roads, how the city, how the signaling system can be made or can be improved further by using these information technologies. So smart transport include that you can say that the smart cities cover a wide range of applications, and these applications are mainly related to the transport, health and living. So today I am just taking care of the transport only, and in the transport, the smart road is the first priority, and the second priority is the smart street light. That street light should be smart enough. The cars should be smart enough. The smart car means that there must be a communication between vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to information device, vehicle to signaling device, vehicle to SCADA control room. So everywhere there must be a control so that your car will be smart enough. And smart traffic light, traffic signals. What is the meaning of this smart traffic signals? So when I go through the different papers, so I found that smart traffic signals means that suppose if the pedestrians are going across any road, that means that the space, or you can say that the timing of light will be automatically increased, right? So that way you can say that the smart traffic signals can be controlled by using this IoT based devices, or by collecting the signals from the real time situation or from the practical data, you can say that. And this is basically the timeline of the technology trend. So by visualizing this, you can say that currently the wireless traffic signals, the smart road and smart cities, these are the three topics that are completely in picture or completely in process, right? So people are researchers are trying to work in this area. So these are the areas in which this power that is coming from the highway can be utilized and can be strengthened for making the cities more smarter and smarter. And these are some visualization of the advanced roads, right? So earlier there was a problem related to the traffic jams, accidents, pollutions, right? Fuel cost, everything is there. So by generating or by harvesting the energy, that energy is basically utilized for the sensors, for the data analysis, for the IoT, and that IoT is basically utilized to generate the smart signals, right? So this way you can say that the advanced road can be incorporated with advanced signals, right? Advanced traffic signals, advanced traffic intersection, you can say that the intelligent traffic intersection signals, and there must be communication between different vehicles. So that way you can say that the advances can be incorporated. The similar advances need to be incorporated in the street light, that okay, the street lights should be covered, or should be, you can say that the connected with different sensors, that speaking sensor, like the sound sensor is there, that water detection sensor is there, right? Image sensor is there. So everything is related to this smart street light. And this street light is basically generally covered with the photovoltaic panel, or photovoltaic, you can say that the sheet. So that way you can say that the energy that is required for this street light can be generated at the place itself, and that energy can be utilized. So you can include that the connected street lights should be fair enough, that there must be a connection or communication between different street lights, solar powered street light, right? The government of India has already established in thousands of street light in rural areas, like to strengthen the lightning system, right? Motion activated street lights, right? Wi-Fi system should be incorporated in the cities, especially to generate or to means to improve the performance, right? So for that case, wireless transmission will be there. So all these things should be included, and all these things should be powered by the energy that should be generated from the highway itself, right? This is the motive behind this, you can say that this topic, that okay, the power that is generated from the highway, and that power should be incorporated at that place only for different things. And to improve the condition of the street lighting, so you should incorporate different intelligent things, and the data of those intelligent things, the camera sensor, sound sensor, water sensor, speaking sensor, so everything should be transferred to the cloud. So these are the smart street light connectivity, that how the street lights are connected. So first connected to this Wi-Fi, then through this tower, so you will get some signals at the IoT platform, and then you can visualize through the SCADA and everything. So this way you can say that okay, how the smart street lights are connected to the one control center only, right? That control system center is basically automatically controlled. So these are some already existing smart lights developed in countries, right? Smart street light development already going on, right? And this is a visualization of, you can say that the future smart road, that okay, how the vehicles are connected with each other, right? That electric vehicle is connected with the normal vehicle. So vehicle to vehicle to intelligent lights, vehicle to different other vehicles, drones. So there must be a complete communication between each and everything, so that the intersection should be smooth enough, the traffic should be smooth enough, lightning should be smooth enough. So this way, this is the pictorial view that you can say okay, in future this kind of system will be there by incorporating the energy harvesting from the renewables, the green energy, and IoT. So this way you can say that, okay, by combining both the things, you can move towards the smart city concept. So this is the related to the future work, or you can say that the future planning of the cities, right? So this is all about this today's talk. So if you have any doubt, any questions, you can ask.
Participants, if you have any kind of query, you can ask now. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering a session here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, participants, tomorrow again we are having two sessions. Day 5, two sessions we are having tomorrow, and feedback and valedictory session will be there tomorrow. Thank you, participants. Have a good day. And a small test also will be there.
So the test would be on Google Form?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.